Hello, this is Anders, and in this video, we're going to go over what it's like to work with my firm, Anders Retirement and Investment Advisors, the difference, the fees, the costs, the process, all of that. We're going to get into that in this video. Okay, so in this video, we're going to go over what it's like to work with our firm. We are an independent financial advisory firm. A lot of people are kind of confused with that. What does that mean? We're going to get into all that, the processes, everything. So the first thing I want to start with is the difference between us and maybe some of the other people that you're used to. A majority of what we do is with state employees. So Florida Retirement System, DROP, people who are either in the FRS who are public employees or who are retired. That's primarily who we focus on. Now, we do help other people. We'll work with people in Disney and Lockheed Martin and general public. We're used to that as well because spouses are general public as well. So we can also help with them. But our main focus is the Florida retirement system. So that's what we do every day. We also can help with others, but that's what we do every day. So if you're in the Florida retirement system, that is our top priority, not just myself, but also our other financial advisors that work with our firm. So let's get into the main differences. So to start off, we are an independent financial advisory firm. Now, what that means is we are not there to sell our Anders retirement products. So a lot of times people think, okay, well, why should I use you instead of Voya, or why should I use you instead of Corebridge, or one of the other state providers, or even Ernst & Young at the FRS, right? Why should we use you? Well, the main reason is because we don't have those one accounts. We can use any of them. So we work with Corebridge, we work with Voya, we work with the different companies who are part of the Florida retirement system approved vendor list, but we can also work outside of that as well. And so doing that is we're not employed by a company to sell their products. And so what we're able to do is kind of step back and tailor what's best for our clients. That's probably the best analogy I've heard for an independent financial advisor. If you go into a company and just they can only offer you their products, it's very similar to going into a clothing store. And if you go into a clothing store, like my daughter loves Lululemon right now. So if you go in there and you're only going to get Lululemon, right? That's what they're going to have. Or if you go into Macy's, right? You just pull whatever brands they have, whatever they have there is what you get. We're much more like a custom tailor, where we're not focused on the brand. We come in, we fit you, we measure you, we go over all of that and figure out which is the best for you. What's the right fit? What's the right measurements? How much do we want? Do we need to, is one arm shorter than the other? All of those things, right? Because you're unique. Your financial situation is unique. We don't meet with people and say, okay, well, this is our product, this is what you're going to get. Instead, we do that. But also, because of that, your account is not in a Anders retirement account. We will go use those different companies and your money is held there. So, if something happens to us, right? If I get hit by a bus, we people all the time say, well, what if you go out of business? Well, your money's still there with that account. You just go to a new independent financial advisor and you say, hey, can you become the agent of record on my account? Or worst case scenarios, you have a 1-800 number to call. That being said, we're not going out of business. We're going to be around. But if that did happen, you have that protection there. So you don't have to worry about it being at one place. Your money's still held with those institutions. A lot of times people say, well, I have an account with TD Ameritrade, or I have an account with Vanguard, or whatever else. We can use all of those accounts. If it makes sense, we'll use those. If it doesn't make sense, I'll give you other options, right? We'll give you other plans. We'll make a plan. A lot of times what we see is people don't really have a retirement plan. They have a bunch of different retirement accounts that they've saved. Sometimes what we like to call it is a squirrel approach, right? You just saving nuts you're for a rainy day, and you'll go find them later. Well, when you retire, it's time to start using those nuts that you've saved. So instead of that squirrel plan of just putting things away, what we do is we actually make a retirement plan. We're going to get into the process a little bit later, but a retirement plan based on your needs, not based on the products that we have to sell. The next kind of difference between us and some of the other financial advisors that are out there is we are fiduciary financial advisors, which that means that we legally have to put your interest before ours. And you have to be careful about this, because if you're working with somebody who's purely a broker, then they don't have any, they can just sell whatever is best for the company. Their job is to generate commission, not to do what's best for the client. For us, we are fiduciaries, which means that our job is to always put the client first. Now, once again, independent and fiduciary. The other thing that you have to be careful of is there are fiduciaries who work for a company. So, very good one that I can, kind of relate is Ernst & Young, who represents the FRS. They are fiduciary advisors. So when you call, they are giving you fiduciary advice, but they work for Ernst & Young. So they're going to give you advice based on the accounts that are available inside of Ernst & Young, which, are 15 or 20 different options. They've changed it, but 15 or 20 different options out of the thousands that are available, right? So yes, it's fiduciary, but it's fiduciary based on what they have to provide. An independent fiduciary can step back and say, okay, well, maybe those 15 or 20 options are the best, or maybe we create a plan with the thousands of other ones out there, which usually makes sense. So just be careful. Just because someone's a fiduciary, they may still be obligated to only offer the products available at the company. So yes, they're putting your interests first, but your interest first on that limited basis. An independent fiduciary has to be able to create a plan that's best for you, not just with a company, with any company that's out there, and prove why it's best for you. And that leads me into my final point of what kind of makes us different is we do not have a cookie cutter process. Now, we have certain plans and processes that we like to use based on your situation. We have what's called the 3-bucket approach, which for a lot of people is good, but not for everybody. We're going to talk about that in the next section of our process. But everything's custom. So if we meet with 5 different people, there's usually going to be 5 different plans because they're all different. Maybe you're married, maybe you're single, maybe you're retiring at 55, maybe you're retiring at 70. Maybe you have debt that you have to pay off. Maybe you're completely debt free and you just want to leave money to beneficiaries. Everyone is different, and we can customize it based on those needs, because there's a different account for somebody who's looking for to leave money to beneficiaries. That is completely different than somebody who needs that money in case an emergency happens, or somebody who wants to generate guaranteed income for the rest of their life. That's different than somebody who wants to grow their account internally. So those are all different types of accounts that you might use, but they come into a plan based on your goals and your objectives. Now, some of you might say, I don't even know what my goals are. I don't even know, where to start. That's fine. That's very common. You've never retired before. We will help you figure out goals and objectives. And don't feel embarrassed just because you don't know exactly where you want to go. We'll help you, and we'll figure out. We know the questions to ask. We've done this enough that we understand that you're not going to have all the answers to exactly where you want to be before you retire. Some of you might, but some of you might not, and we can help you with that as well. And that leads us to the second part of our process. So the first part was our, what makes us different. The second part is our process. So our process is very simple. The first part is a complimentary phone consultation, which we like to call our introductory call. Now, the introductory call is number one, to get to know you, to figure out your situation, your needs, your goals. Number two, answer any questions that you have about us, about the FRS. Sometimes those introductory calls are very simple, and we can just answer the questions and point you in the right direction. And sometimes we're not the right fit. There's certain people who are more do-it-yourselfers, and they just want a second opinion. We do complete plans, so that wouldn't be the right fit. But we can point them in the right direction. Or there might be somebody who needs help with health insurance, right? And we might not have health insurance in that area, but we can point them in the right direction. So the introductory call is simply to answer questions. It's to get to know you. You get to know us. And then from there, if the how we can help is putting it together a plan, or that's what you're looking for, then from there we will go to a second appointment, which is called the strategy appointment. And in that strategy call, we're going to get more in detail. So that first call, we're going to say, okay, well, tell us about your situation. Are you married? Are you, how long did you work at the FRS or your job? Does your spouse have a retirement plan? What accounts do you have? And then from there, we'll figure out what the goals are. And so if the goals are, hey, I really want to come up with a complete retirement plan or whatever it might be, we'll set up that second call. And in that second call, we'll say, okay, well, based on what you said, we'll need you to send over statements. We'll need to look at this or this, but we will let you know between those two calls. And then in the strategy call, we'll sit down and go over that strategy. So we'll figure out, okay, well, do we want to do a 3-bucket approach? And then for those of you who haven't seen our video on the 3-bucket approach, we're going to go ahead and link it up above and you can watch that. But basically we could say, okay, do we have enough fixed? Do we have enough liquid? Do we have enough growing? Do we need to pay off bills? Whatever it might be, we'll figure out a plan for that. Because, the number one thing in retirement is income. And sometimes we might need to take some more income out. Maybe you don't know what your income will be. Maybe we just have to establish that. And we'll figure that out for you. So I know it sounds a little complicated. Don't worry about it. It's what we do, but that's what we'll do in the second appointment. And then from there, we'll have come up with all that. We'll either do that over the phone or over Zoom, or if you want to come in person, we can. In-person appointments are more limited, and we have offices throughout the state, but there's limited availability at the different offices in person because there's only so many of us. So we can meet over Zoom or phone. It's a lot more flexible with that process. And then from there, come up with a plan. And then the third appointment is what we like to call a presentation/implementation appointment. So from there, we'll say, okay, to accomplish your plan, here's what we recommend. Here's the 3 buckets. Here's income. Here's whatever, how much we'll have to do for distribution. We'll go over the plan, go over everything. And then if you say, yeah, Don, that sounds good, then we can implement it, meaning we can do paperwork or whatever else we need. Or if you say, you know what, I'm not crazy about this part of it. What if we adjusted this? Or what if we looked at a different account from this? And then we can adjust it from there. Remember, this is a custom fit plan with our firm. So if something isn't comfortable when you go to the tailor, you tell them and they adjust it. We do the exact same thing. So we're not set in the ways there. We're here to do what's best for you. We can adjust it. We can make changes to the plan as we go. And then eventually, whenever you're ready, we can implement it. Sometimes for those of you who are in drop, it might take a while. So, we might do a plan. We might meet with somebody 4 years before they separate and come up with a plan and do the strategy appointment, but then we can't implement it until they're about to retire. Or maybe we can only implement part of the plan now and part of the plan later. But that's okay. Remember, we're used to this. We are used to people in drop. So people retiring 5, 8 years down the road, that's not a big deal. So if you feel like this is way too soon, it's not. We can sit down, we can go over the process and come up with a plan for when you exit in 3, 4, 5 years. You should have a plan going into that. Or if you're the opposite person and you give us a call, a week after you separate, which happens sometimes, that's okay too. We can figure things out, or if we need to, we can just use what's called a parking account, where we can just say, okay, we're on a time crunch. Let's get everything in the parking account to keep it safe, and then we'll come up with a plan later. That's a possibility as well. So that's kind of our process there, and it changes. We sometimes have to have 4 or 5 meetings with a client to figure out what's the best process. We've also had one, right? So sometimes we met with people, and either we said, you know what, we aren't the right fit for you. Here's another option, or we've said, really, you need to keep your money liquid in a parking account, and you're on a time crunch. Let's get that done as soon as possible. So, but typically it's 3 meetings, can be more or less depending on what you need and what your goals are. The third thing I want to talk about, and is probably what most of you have questions on, because this is what we hear all the time, is what are your fees? What does this cost? It sounds great, but what does it cost? And that is a great question. And so unfortunately, the answer isn't as simple with financial advisors as some other places. It's not just a menu of, you go into your dentist and a cleaning is this much and this much. It depends on what needs to be done. So let me break down how financial advisors work, how we work, and how we get paid. So financial advisors can get paid one of three ways. They can either charge what's called a planning fee or an appointment fee. And that means that every time that you come in, they're going to charge you a fee to sit down, meet an hourly rate, kind of like a lawyer, the way some lawyers work, by an hourly fee. But then the second option is commissions. So that's where you get paid based on selling an account, selling a product or something like that. And then the third option is what's called an asset-based fee. So the way we work is we don't charge anything for the planning. So there's no upfront cost, there's no meetings, nothing like that, for a few reasons. Number one, we work with public employees. So what I've found is if you charge a big planning fee, yes, some people will do it, but you'll also not be able to help the people that we really want to help because they can't afford those upfront planning fees. So instead, we waive those. We don't charge anything for the planning fees or that upfront meeting fees. Instead, we get paid the other two ways, and it's very simple. If you go into something that's market-based, that's directly managed, then we charge an asset fee. And so those asset fees are, I would say, about standard or maybe a little bit above average for the industry, but they're based on the level of management and the types of accounts that we're doing. And then if you go with a fixed account or something that is commissionable, then we can get paid from the company. So for those of you who want a fixed 5.3% multi-year guarantee account, well, it doesn't make sense to charge a planning fee on that because it's just a fixed account. So instead, what we'll do is we'll go out, we'll find you the highest rate that we can, and then the company will pay us to set it up. Now, though, what the company pays us doesn't come off of your fixed account interest rate. Instead, just comes out of the company's profit, out of their pocket. But here's the thing. Whatever we do, you will know. So if we're getting a commission from a company, if we're getting paid from the company, we'll let you know what that is. If we're charging a fee on the accounts, we will let you know what it is. And so that leads me into our final part of our promises. So we have a few promises to our clients. Number one, that we're always going to put your interest first, that you will come before ours. We're not going to do something just to make money. We're going to make sure that your interest is met first and foremost. Number two is if there are any fees, we will let you know. We don't believe in hidden fees and non-disclosed fees. If there are fees, we're going to let you know what those are so that you're comfortable with that. And the last one is if there is any risk, we will make sure you're comfortable with that. So a big thing when you're retiring is you don't want to take too much risk. And some people don't want to take any risk, which is fine. If someone comes in and says, you know what, Don, I don't want to risk any of my principal. Fine. That's not a problem. We'll make sure that we take care of that. But if in a situation you do want to take some risk, we will let you know what the risk is at that time. So I hope this video helped explain the four things that are the difference in working with our firm, our process, our fees, and the promises to our clients and the people we work with. If you've already booked an appointment, great. We're going to send this out we're going to text this out in the text confirmations to anyone who's scheduled a first consultation. If you're watching this video or you saw it on YouTube or some other place or Facebook, just go ahead and click the link below. There's going to be a link to schedule an appointment if you're interested in that process and everything that we talked about in this video, if you think that fits what your needs are. Either way, thank you so much. I hope you all have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.